The Japanese Prime Minister is struggling hard. Prime Minister Kishida's approval ratings have dropped by 10% regardless of recent gains back in May 2023. So here are 3 reasons why Kishida's approval ratings have been dropping. The first reason is political scandals. Kishida was experiencing a stable approval rate for his first year, but the state funeral for Shinzo Abe starts off a declining trend. While many citizens were initially supportive of a state funeral, revelations of Abe's ties with the Unification Church sparked opposition. For those who are unaware, the Unification Church is a cult that demands high amounts of donations through fear or coercion. Although Kishida himself does not have ties, many LDP politicians had ties with the Unification Church. The government eventually passed a law in December to protect citizens from cults, but this law doesn't dismantle the Unification Church. Kishida also hired his son as his personal secretary, and this son didn't help either. His son used a diplomat's vehicle to buy some souvenirs when he was in France. Additionally, he held an end-of-a-year party at the Prime Minister's office. Yup, Kishida had to let him go. If you've been following my weekly YouTube shorts, you should also know that Kishida is dealing with My Number card troubles as well. The My Number card is basically a social security card combined with everything else, including your house insurance, bank account number, and retirement fund. The problem is, some of this information was tied to different people, and more leaks were revealed throughout the past few weeks. The government is trying to fix the issue, but they also announced that everyone needs to use these My Number cards from next year. It's been optional for the past few years. Also, Kishida revealed a very mediocre policy to solve the population crisis. Honestly though, these scandals are not as bad as former Prime Minister Abe. Other than his son, both the Unification Church and the My Number cards are not his fault. He's not as deep with the cult, and he didn't create the My Number card system. Nonetheless, as the president of the LDP, he is responsible to deal with these political issues. The second reason is taxes. We could return to Abe's funeral. Japan doesn't have any law about state funerals, and yet the government decided to proceed with the funeral. Who pays for this event? The people. Let's talk about the defense budget. It's important for Japan to be conscious about its surroundings, but how is Japan going to increase its defense budget to 43 trillion yen? Yup, extra taxes. How about Japan's declining population? How's the government going to find all the funds they proposed? Yup, extra taxes. Actually, we still don't know where the money is coming from, but several politicians have dodged that tax question. And guess what? Japan just made 70 trillion yen from tax revenue. That's the highest amount of money the government got from taxes. Inflation in Japan isn't as bad compared to the West, but just take a look at the average salary. With this salary, a small jump in prices hurts the regular citizen. And with a weak yen, there's nothing citizens can do but just endure the pain. Most Japanese people will refer to the first and second points as reasons for not supporting Kishida, but the third point is worth mentioning as well. Japan is famous for a certain type of diplomacy, which is known as checkbook diplomacy. Basically, it's a foreign policy to improve relations through economic aid and investments in different countries. It's a legitimate policy, but from a citizen's point of view, why is the government spending money on foreigners and not the regular Japanese? Checkbook diplomacy has been criticized as baramaki gaiko. Baramaki means to disseminate, and gaiko is foreign policy. Baramaki gaiko is used to criticize such investments as aimless and purposeless. Here are some examples of investments Japan made this year. Financial aid is a strategic foreign policy as it increases Japan's influence, but many skeptical Japanese see this as a waste of money. Again, Japan's checkbook diplomacy isn't the strongest reason to oppose Kishida. Japan is known for checkbook diplomacy, so this isn't unique to Kishida. However, public discussion and concern about inflation and taxes have increased the spotlight on Japan's checkbook diplomacy. And here are 3 reasons why Japanese people do not support Kishida. The Prime Minister has 2 important dates in relation to his premiership. First, there are rumors of a snap election in September 2023. Second, Kishida will have to rerun for his leadership position within the LDP in September 2024. Prime Minister Kishida will need to bump up his approval ratings in the next few months if he wants to secure power. If you're interested in learning more about Kishida's performance, like the video and subscribe to learn more about Japanese politics.